Hello everyone, welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today is Wednesday, which means it's going to be DFS value pick day. These are going to be my value picks for this week on DFS for DraftKings. So we're going to start out with the quarterbacks. I'm just looking at guys that are under $6,000. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Nick Mullins. He's $5,100. He's by far the cheapest starting quarterback this week. He's going to be replacing injured Jimmy Garoppolo. They are going against the Giants, who do not have a very good defense. So it could make for a good matchup for him in terms of points per dollar spent at the quarterback position. I don't expect him to have a great game, but at this price, he's definitely a value. Next up is Ryan Fitzpatrick, $5,300, so he's $200 more than Mullins. I probably would play him over Mullins anyways at this point. Jacksonville's defense is not great. Fitzpatrick did look like he was starting to turn around in game 2, so that's a positive sign. And for $5,300, he is a value. Last but not least, at the quarterback position, we have Ryan Tannehill, who comes in at $5,900. He's going against the Minnesota Vikings defense that has not been very good this year. I know Philip Rivers didn't quite light him up, but Ryan Tannehill is probably better than Philip Rivers at this point in his career. He looked pretty good so far this year, and look for more of the same. We're going to move over to running backs now. So running backs, I'm going to be looking at guys that are $5,000 or less. First guy that I'm going to mention is Joshua Kelly, comes in at $5,000. He saw 23 carries last week. I know his yards per carry wasn't very good. Kansas City obviously has a better defense than Carolina does. Carolina has probably the worst run defense in the league. If Joshua Kelly gets 20 carries in this game, he is a steal for $5,000. And I kind of talked about him already for redraft leagues. I consider him a start this week. He's actually one of my starts of the week. Next up, we got Myles Gaskin coming in at $4,800. It's a decent buy. He's relatively cheap, and he's been seeing over 60% of the snaps for the Dolphins. I'd look for more of the same from him this week. And if he can somehow find a way to get into the end zone, he would be even more of a value. Then we got Antonio Gibson coming in at $4,700. He goes against a tough Cleveland run defense this week, so he might not be quite as big as value as he was maybe last week, but he's still got to look out for. If he makes a big play, he could definitely be worth it. Keep in mind Brandon Scherf, the starting guard for Washington football team. He's probably going to be missing in this game. Cleveland's defensive line is pretty good, so maybe Gibson's somebody you fade this week, but not a lot of people will be playing him. So if you want to look at a different option, he's definitely one you can consider. Tariq Cohen comes in at $4,300, so his price has been dropping so far this year. They're going against Atlanta, who's going to be able to score points. If they get behind early in this game, look for Cohen to be more involved in the passing game. So at $4,300, he could be a value. Next up, I got Jerick McKinnon. He's probably going to start for the 49ers this week with Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman both injured now. So $4,900, he could be a steal there. Just depends on how many touches he gets. And then I'm going to move to the other side of that spectrum is Jeff Wilson Jr. He's probably going to see just as many carries in this game as Jerick McKinnon. They've been known to give him the ball around the goal line, and he can catch the ball as well. So coming in at $4,000, I think Jeff Wilson Jr. is a steal this week. Most of these other ones that I got are going to be guys that are around $4,000. Alexander Madison comes in at $4,000. I know he didn't have a lot of snaps last week, so that's why his price pretty much died. Just a guy to look out for, but probably not going to play him this week. Duke Johnson's another one at $4,000. We'll have to see if he's healthy. If he's healthy for $4,000, you should get decent value out of him. Then I got Zach Moss at $4,500. The Bills go up against the Rams. It's just kind of a price I like, but I don't know if he's going to perform well enough. Let's see. Darwin Thompson's another one that I have for $4,000 as well. He did see some carries after Darrell Williams got hurt. If Darrell Williams is out again, if he gets that short yardage and goal line work away from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, especially in this game against a tough Baltimore Ravens defense, for $4,000, if he scores a touchdown, that's pretty much worth it for $4,000. Another guy just to mention out there is Mike Davis for $5,100. I think he's a little bit overvalued this week. They are going up against the Chargers, who have a good run defense. So he's not somebody I'm particularly looking to play, but he should see some volume with Christian McCaffrey missing time. Then we'll move over to wide receivers. I'm going to start at $5,400 and work my way down. $5,400 I'm just starting at because Deontay Johnson is $5,400 this week. He goes against the Texans. Should be a good matchup for him. Look for Bradley Roby to probably cover Juju Smith-Schuster. That's going to leave Vernon Hargreaves, former first-round bust, to cover Deontay Johnson this week. It's a matchup that I like a lot. And coming from a Texans fan, I know our secondary is not special, and Deontay Johnson's a very good player. He's seen double-digit targets in both games this year, So look for him to have more of the same in this game against the Texans. Then I got Corey Davis for 5,200. It's an okay value. He does definitely have upside going against Minnesota this week. So he could definitely outproduce his value. Russell Gage I got for 5,100. He's kind of in the same boat as Davis. He should be pretty good. Just depends on how many targets he sees this week. He could definitely outproduce his value going against the Bears, especially if it is a high-scoring game. Next up, Darius Slayton, 4,900. Looks like Sterling Shepard is going to be out this week. Saquon's obviously not coming back. So they're going to lean on Darius Slayton a little bit more this week. $4,900 is even cheaper than he was last week, when last week I thought he was a value as well. So look for him to have a good game, especially going up against banged up 49ers defense. Then Christian Kirk's the other guy I'm going to talk about. His price went up $200 from last week. I still think he could be a value. One of these weeks he's probably going to break out. This week he goes against the Lions defense, who look pretty lost against Green Bay's pass catching options. So he could definitely be a value. Then after him I have Preston Williams, $4,400. I think he's a good value here actually. He's going against Jacksonville. If C.J. Henderson covers Devontae Parker, it could be a good matchup for Preston Williams this week. Then we have Laviska Shenault coming in at 4,300. They showed a willingness to give him rushing attempts in both games so far this year. Last game he got 5. So he's kind of a guy, if he gets a couple carries, if he gets a couple of receptions like he's been doing and he scores a touchdown, he could definitely be worth this price or more. Then I'll move into Keelan Cole next. He's $4,100. So far this season he has greatly outproduced that number. So he's definitely a guy you want to look out for in this matchup. Keel Harry is another one I kind of like at $4,200. They're going against the Raiders. I don't know how much they're going to actually throw the ball, but he saw 12 targets against the Seahawks, so he's definitely a guy to look out for. I'll talk about 3 rookie wide receivers here altogether. Michael Pittman Jr. is $4,000, Brian Edwards $3,700, and Chase Claypool $3,700 as well. These guys all have a chance to outproduce their current prices if they see enough targets or if they score a touchdown. Pittman Jr. is in a plus matchup against the Jets. Brian Edwards is kind of in a tough matchup against the Patriots. And Chase Claypool is in a good matchup against the Texans. I probably like Michael Pittman Jr. and Chase Claypool best out of these 3 options so far this week. Then we got a couple other guys. These are guys that have been around the league a little while, but they're still relatively young. Tim Patrick and Braxton Berrios. Patrick comes in at $3,700, and Berrios comes in at $3,600. Cortland Sutton's done for the year, so that obviously boosts Tim Patrick's stock. We can also talk about KJ Hamler here. I think he was a little bit too high priced for me. That's why I don't have him on this list. But Patrick, he should see a lot of snaps. He should see a decent amount of targets. And then if Jerry Jeudy was to miss this game as well, then it'd pretty much be Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler and Deshaun Hamilton. I think out of all of them, Patrick's probably the one I would trust the most. And then Braxton Berrios, his is just based on if Jamison Crowder plays in this game or not. If Crowder plays, Berrios is not somebody you want to go after. If Crowder misses, Berrios is somebody you would like to roster. Last 2 guys I got are both rookies. Van Jefferson for $3,100 and Darnell Mooney for $3,000. So Jefferson's just above the minimum price. He caught 4 passes last week for 41 yards. Looks like he's starting to get a little bit more involved in the Rams offense. He is a very polished wide receiver coming in as a rookie. Look for him to do a little bit more in the coming weeks. Not sure if it'll be this week against Buffalo. Whoever plays in the slot, if it's him or Cooper Kupp, has a great matchup against Buffalo. And then Darnell Mooney, he's going against the Falcons. If this turns into a high-scoring game for $3,000, if he sees 60% of the snaps again, he is going to outproduce his value. We'll move over to tight end next. So tight ends, I'm just going to talk about the guys that I do like this week. They're not all necessarily relatively the cheapest, but these are guys that I have written down. So I got Jonnu Smith, $5,200. He does go up against the Vikings that allowed 111 yards to Mo Alley Cox last week. So that's definitely a plus matchup for him. If you want a little bit cheaper option than him, a couple $100 cheaper is Mike Gesicki at $4,900. He does go against Jacksonville, who has not been too great against the tight end. He is going to be one of their main targets coming off a great game. Jordan Reed's up to $4,000 this week. He would be somebody you only play if George Kittle misses, and he would be in a plus matchup at that. But if George Kittle plays, there's no way you can play Jordan Reed. Next up, I got Tyler Eifert, $3,900. Gardner Minshew was actually targeting him quite a bit last week. He ended up with, I believe, 3 catches like 30 some yards and a touchdown. So not a bad day overall. If he gets more of that same volume, he could be a decent play, especially going against Miami. Logan Thomas at $3,700. He's about the same price as that he was last week. He goes against Cleveland, who's not very good against the tight end. And he saw 8 targets in week 1, 9 targets in week 2, so he's definitely the second option on this team. If they're able to take Terry McLaurin away with Denzel Ward, look for Logan Thomas to have a good day. Next up, we got Drew Sample coming in at $3,500. CJ Uzomah is gone for the season now, and they are going up against Philadelphia, who's been awful against the tight end so far this year. Sample saw 9 targets in week 2 on Thursday Night Football after coming in for Uzomah. So clearly, Joe Burrow has shown some rapport and some trust with him. Last but not least, I got my dirt cheap option for this week, and that's Dan Arnold. Dan Arnold is $2,800. He hasn't done too much this year, but he is out there. He's on a good amount of snaps. He's getting play, and he's going up against the Lions this week, so it should be a good matchup for him. So last but not least, we got DST. These are going to be the 4 DSTs that I kind of like this week relative to their value. I got 2 cheap options and then 2 higher up options. If I'm paying all the way down, I'm going to go after the Jets defense this week. They'll go against the Colts. They're only $2,000 the minimum. And Philip Rivers has been known to throw an interception or 2. And coming into the year, people were kind of worried about Jonathan Taylor fumbling the ball. So if they're able just to get a turnover or 2, relative to their value, it could work out for them. Next up, I got the Bengals. Bengals defense looked all right week 1 against the Chargers. Didn't look too good against the Browns week 2. You go against Philadelphia this week. Philadelphia's offensive line, they're banged up. If Lane Johnson doesn't play this week, they could get after Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has been a little bit turnover prone so far this year. So it's a great opportunistic matchup relative to their price. The next 2 are matchups that I do like this week for DFS and for fantasy in general. Then Tampa Bay coming in at $3,700. They're going against Denver. Denver's pretty banged up. They're going to be missing Cortland Sutton. They might miss Jerry Jeudy. Obviously, Philip Lindsay's been out. Drew Lock, the quarterback, is now hurt. So you're going against Jeff Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll has been known to throw an interception or 2. Should be a good matchup for them. Tampa Bay has a good defense overall in general. And then last but not least, I got the LA Chargers defense coming in at $3,600. They go against the Carolina Panthers, who are missing their primary option on offense, which is Christian McCaffrey. So it's definitely a good matchup for a good Chargers defense. Teddy Bridgewater has not been too impressive for the first 2 weeks, so it's definitely a good matchup as well. But like I said, these are just my DFS value picks for this week. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Hopefully it gave you a couple different options to consider when building your DFS lineups this week. If you guys have any other questions about DFS, DraftKings going into this week, if you have any other value picks of your own, let me know down in the comments below. But with that being said, if you guys liked and enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. With that being said, if you are a new or current subscriber who hasn't already done so, please hit that little notification bell down below. It will let you know every single time that I post up a video. And last but not least, if you need to reach out to me for any reason at all, whether you need advice with your lineups, start sits, if you're considering trades, DFS, anything like that, anything related to fantasy football at all, you want to talk matchups, you want to just talk football, feel free to reach out to me at CoachCraigSports@gmail.com. Check out the Coach Craig Sports Facebook page. You can also tweet at me on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. If you're in the fantasy football discussion group on Facebook as well, feel free to reach out to me on there as well. I know I've been talking to a lot of people, helping people with start sits, general advice, anything like that. But with that being said, that's all I got for today. Hope you guys all enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day.